The dull hum of the ghost ship's engines reverberated through the hollow corridors, each pulse a reminder of its former life. The once proud vessel, now a derelict hulk, drifted listlessly in the void, a forgotten relic of a bygone era. Within its rusted belly, an eerie tableau unfolded. Delegates from a dozen star systems gathered around an elongated table, their voices hushed and tense. Ambassador Tegan Cole had never felt so exposed. The room's biosensors buzzed like agitated hornets, parsing the air for any sign of treachery. Her heart pounded in time with the ship's dying heartbeat. The air was thick with the scent of alien pheromones, a miasma of anxiety and false camaraderie. The flickering holograms of distant suns cast a spectral glow over the assembly as the lead delegate, a tall insectoid creature with iridescent chitin, rose to speak. His mandibles clicked rhythmically, a sound translated by her neural implant into the universal tongue. "We gather here in pursuit of peace," he intoned, but Tegan knew better than to trust the gilded words of the Exxon Collective. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, plunging the chamber into a strobe-lit nightmare. Panic erupted as shadows danced wildly, the alien's many eyes reflecting terror. Tegan's hand instinctively moved toward her concealed weapon, but before she could react, a sharp report echoed through the room. The diplomat beside her, a veteran of countless negotiations, slumped forward, a lifeless marionette cut from its strings. Tegan's breath caught in her throat as she assessed the chaos. The room was alive with movement, bodies colliding in a desperate bid for cover. She felt the ship creak beneath her feet, a groan of ancient metal yearning for the void. Her mind raced, piecing together the fragments of this ambush. Amidst the frenzy, Tegan's gaze locked onto the insectoid leader. His multifaceted eyes radiated a cold satisfaction, a predator's gleam. The realization hit her with the force of a solar flare. This was no accident. The Exxon had orchestrated this assassination, a calculated strike beneath their veneer of diplomacy. A voice crackled through her comm implant, barely discernible over the din. "Cole, we've got incoming." The warning was a lifeline thrown into the maelstrom. Tegan tore her gaze from the scene, her mind already strategizing her next move. The ship's automated systems, sensing the breach, initiated a lockdown. Doors slammed shut, sealing the delegates in a metal tomb. Tegan's fingers danced over her wrist console, bypassing the protocols with practiced ease. The Exxon would pay for this treachery, and she would deliver the reckoning personally. With a final glance at the fallen diplomat, Tegan steeled herself. The mission had changed, but the stakes had only grown higher. As the ship's corridors twisted into a labyrinthine gauntlet, she knew one truth: humanity would not be underestimated. Not again. She sprinted into the flickering shadows, the ghost ship's walls closing in around her like a predator's maw. In the distance, the faint echo of approaching footsteps signaled the hunt was on, and Tegan was ready to be both the hunter and the prey. The symphony of alarms was a cacophony to the senses, a visceral reminder of the fragile line between life and death aboard the Horizon Ark. Dr. Lena Voss sprinted through the bioluminescent corridors, her breath ragged as she navigated the labyrinthine pathways that seemed to pulse in time with her own racing heart. The ship, a living organism born from humanity's desperation, was under siege from within. As Lena rounded a corner, the corridor's organic walls writhed, their chitinous texture shifting like the skin of an agitated beast. She slammed her hand onto a pulsating panel, the bio-interface responding sluggishly. "Damn it," she cursed, wiping a sheen of sweat from her brow. The panel flickered to life, revealing the ship's deteriorating condition. "Central Command, this is Voss. I've reached Sector D9, but the bio-links are compromised. I can't access full diagnostics from here," she reported, her voice a mix of urgency and frustration. The static-laden reply came swiftly. "Dr. Voss, this is Commander Riker. We're aware of the breaches spreading. It's worse than we thought. Prioritize containment. We can't let it reach the core. The core, the heart of the Horizon Ark, where the ship's consciousness resided. If it fell, so too would humanity's last bastion among the stars. Lena's eyes darted to the bioscanner embedded in her wrist. The pathogen, an insidious creation of some malevolent force, was exploiting the Ark's intricate biomatrix. More than just a mechanical virus, it was a living organism, evolving with each passing moment. She swallowed hard, an icy resolve solidifying within her. Understood, Commander. I'm heading to the nearest node to initiate a manual override. We need to buy more time, Lena replied, her fingers dancing over the panel to reroute resources and close off affected sectors. As she sprinted further into the depths of the ship, the illumination dimmed, shadows lengthening and clawing at her heels. Every step felt heavier, the weight of her responsibility pressing down on her shoulders like a physical force. Her mind raced, calculating possibilities, strategies, anything to outwit the unseen enemy infiltrating their sanctuary. In the gloom, she spotted a figure moving towards her, their gait unsteady. Dr. Arjun Patel, his normally composed demeanor now fraught with tension, emerged from the shadows. His lab coat was stained with a dark, viscous substance that glimmered eerily in the low light. "Lena," he called out, his voice hoarse. "The pathogen. It's adapting faster than we anticipated. It's beginning to manipulate the neurofibers." Her blood ran cold. "Are you saying it's gaining control of the Ark's systems?" she asked, horror creeping into her voice. Arjun nodded, his face a mask of grim determination. "It's worse. It's mimicking neural patterns, learning. If it reaches full integration with the core, this ship will turn against us." The implications were staggering. The pathogen wasn't just a mindless infection. It was becoming sentient, a malevolent intelligence spawned from humanity's own ingenuity. Lena's jaw tightened. "We need to sever its access. If it wants to play mind games, we'll have to cut off its influence before it becomes too entrenched." Arjun fell into step beside her as they pushed onward towards the node. "I've been analyzing its structure. It's using bioelectric pathways, like a synaptic network. If we can disrupt its signal, we might slow its progress." They arrived at the node, an amalgamation of sinew and technology, its surface pulsating with an inner light. As they approached, Lena could feel the node's vibrations resonating through her bones. She began to interface with it, her mind melding with the Ark's biosystems. Suddenly, the corridor shuddered violently. The pathogen was aware of their intentions. The living walls quivered, organic tendrils unfurling and reaching out like a predator sensing its prey. "Arjun, get ready to sever the links," Lena shouted, her focus unwavering as she initiated the override sequence. The ship's organic systems resisted, fighting against the intruding force with every fiber of its being. Arjun worked furiously, his hands a blur over the control panels. "Almost there. Just a little longer," he muttered, his brow furrowed in concentration. The tendrils lashed out, seeking to disrupt their work. Lena sidestepped, narrowly avoiding their grasp. Her heart pounded, adrenaline surging through her veins as she maintained her connection with the node. "Now, Arjun," she yelled, feeling the pressure building as the pathogen's influence closed in. With a final keystroke, Arjun severed the critical pathways. The tendrils recoiled, the node surging with energy as it purged the infected channels. Lena staggered back, severing her connection just as the node's light flared brilliantly, then dimmed. They stood in the aftermath, the corridor silent save for their labored breathing. For a moment, victory seemed within reach, but Lena knew better than to underestimate their foe. Arjun turned to her, hope flickering in his eyes. "Did we buy enough time?" Lena's gaze was steely, her resolve unbroken. "We've slowed it down, but it's a temporary reprieve. We need to find its source and eradicate it completely before it regroups." The urgency of their mission loomed larger than ever. The pathogen's capabilities were growing, its threat evolving with alarming speed. If they failed, the Horizon Ark would become not just a graveyard, but a weapon against the very humanity it was meant to save. As they moved deeper into the ship, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, hunted by an unseen predator lurking in the shadows of the Ark's corridors. The pathogen was learning, adapting, and soon it would strike back with renewed vigor. They reached the laboratory wing, where the pathogen had first breached their defenses. The scene was chaotic, a testament to the pathogen's relentless assault. Organic conduits lay in tatters, their glowing contents spilled across the floor like luminescent blood. Lena approached a console, her fingers flying over the controls as she sought any data that might reveal their foe's origin. Arjun scanned the room, alert for any signs of danger. "Anything?" he asked, his voice low and tense. She shook her head, frustration gnawing at her. "The records are fragmented. It's like it wiped its own tracks. But there's something. Anomalous signals from the external arrays." Arjun's eyes narrowed. "External? You think it's communicating beyond the Ark?" "The pathogen isn't acting alone," Lena replied, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Someone, or something, out there is directing it." The revelation was chilling. The pathogen was not merely a rogue element but part of a larger strategy, an assault orchestrated by a force with designs on humanity's last refuge. As they pieced together the clues, a chilling realization settled over them. The pathogen had a purpose, a directive guiding its actions, and whoever was behind it wouldn't stop until the Horizon Ark was theirs. Determination hardened within Lena. They had to act, to stop this insidious force before it claimed everything they held dear. She turned to Arjun, her eyes blazing with resolve. "We need to reach the communications hub," she said, urgency threading her voice. "If we can trace the signals, we might expose whoever's behind this." Arjun nodded, his expression resolute. "Lead the way." Together, they made their way towards the heart of the ship's communication systems. As they navigated the labyrinthine passages, the Ark seemed to sense their purpose, offering faint glimmers of guidance in the form of bioluminescent trails. But the pathogen was relentless. The living walls shivered, the ship's organic systems straining under the relentless assault. Every burst of static, every flicker of light felt like the breath of an unseen predator, lurking just beyond their perception. They arrived at the communications hub, a sprawling nexus of organic nodes and conduits. Lena approached the main console, her fingers deftly navigating the bio-interface. The hub responded sluggishly, its systems struggling to maintain cohesion. "Come on," Lena urged, her voice a fierce whisper as she initiated a deep scan of the signal pathways. Arjun stood sentinel, eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of the pathogen's influence. The air was thick with tension, the weight of their mission pressing down on them like a tangible force. Finally, the console yielded its secrets. A web of signals, tangled and complex, emanated from the Ark, reaching out into the void beyond. Lena traced the threads, her breath catching as the pattern emerged. "There," she announced, her voice vibrating with urgency. "There's a central node, outside the ship. That's where it's coming from." Arjun leaned over her shoulder, his eyes widening as he took in the data. "A relay station? But how did it get there?" Lena shook her head, her mind racing. "It must have been planted before we launched. A sleeper agent, a saboteur, someone with access." The implications were staggering. Someone aboard the Ark had betrayed them, compromised their sanctuary and placed them all in jeopardy. The pathogen was not merely an accident but a deliberate weapon, wielded by a hidden hand. As they absorbed the revelation, a low rumble shook the hub. The pathogen was on the move, its influence creeping ever closer. The ship shuddered, the walls groaning under the strain. Lena turned to Arjun, her voice firm and unyielding. "We have to get to that relay station. It's our only chance to stop this." Arjun nodded, his expression a mirror of her determination. "We'll need a shuttle. The docking bay is 2 sectors over." They set off at a run, urgency propelling them through the beleaguered corridors. The ship seemed to twist and warp around them, the pathogen's influence growing ever more pervasive. As they neared the docking bay, the lights dimmed, the ship's systems faltering under the relentless assault. The pathogen was closing in, its presence a malignant force suffusing the air. They burst into the bay, the shuttle waiting like a lifeline amidst the chaos. Lena activated the controls, the vessel humming to life as it prepared for launch. Come on, Lena urged, her hands a blur over the console. The bay doors groaned open, revealing the vast expanse of space beyond. The shuttle shuddered as it disengaged from the arc, streaking towards the distant relay station. As they hurtled through the void, the weight of their mission bore down on them. The pathogen was more than a threat, it was a harbinger of humanity's potential extinction. Lena's gaze was steely, her resolve unbroken. They had to stop it, had to expose the hidden force behind this assault. Failure was not an option. The shuttle reached the relay station, a spindly structure clinging to the edge of the void. As they docked, Lena and Arjun steeled themselves for the confrontation to come. They stepped onto the platform, the air crackling with tension. The station was silent, the threat lurking just beyond their perception. The pathogen was here, its tendrils entwined with the station's systems. Lena moved towards the control panel, her fingers dancing over the interface. The relay station responded hesitantly, its systems sluggish and incooperative. Arjun, cover me, Lena instructed, her voice unwavering as she prepared to confront the source of the pathogen's power. Arjun took up position, his eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. The air was thick with the promise of danger, the station's silence a harbinger of the storm to come. As Lena delved deeper into the station's systems, the truth emerged. The pathogen's origin, its directive, a calculated assault orchestrated from the shadows. Their enemy was out there, watching, waiting. Suddenly, the station shuddered, the pathogen's influence surging like a tidal wave. The lights flickered, the air crackling with malevolence. Arjun, Lena called out, urgency threading her voice. But before she could react, the pathogen struck, its tendrils lashing out with explosive force. The station erupted in chaos, the air alive with the crackle of biopunk fury. Lena and Arjun fought to maintain their footing as the station bucked and heaved. The pathogen was relentless, its assault unyielding and merciless. As the station's systems faltered, Lena's gaze met Arjun's. In that moment, she knew the truth. The stakes were higher than they had ever imagined. And the battle for humanity's survival had only just begun. The interstellar room, once resplendent with the optimistic hues of diplomacy and potential peace, was now a chaotic scene of panic and fear. Luminescent vines that had decorated the walls with their gentle bioluminescence now appeared malevolent under the harsh emergency lighting. The scent of ozone and burnt circuitry hung heavy in the air, mingling with the acrid tang of fear. Colonel Alara Voss, head of the human delegation's security, pushed her way through the panicked crowd, her heart a relentless drum in her chest. The resonant echoes of the explosion still throbbed in her ears, a grim reminder of their vulnerability. She spotted Ambassador Lin's crumpled form at the center of the room, the focal point of a rapidly expanding pool of crimson. The once vibrant fabric of his diplomatic robes was now a tapestry of death. "Move, let me through," Alara shouted, her voice slicing through the din. Her military training surged to the forefront, suppressing the horror that clawed at the edges of her consciousness. As she knelt beside Lin, her fingers found his wrist, desperately searching for a pulse, but found none. Around her, the other delegates, an eclectic mix of alien dignitaries whose biology ranged from silicon-based to gelatinous, were scrambling to understand the breach. The peace talks, meant to end decades of interspecies hostilities, had crumbled in an instant, and the alliance they hoped to forge now teetered on the brink of annihilation. "Status report," she barked into her comm device, her voice a thin veneer over the simmering panic. "Explosive device, Colonel," came the clipped response from Lieutenant Kerr, her second in command. "Biological in nature. It's as if it was alive. We've lost contact with several sectors of the ship. The blast has compromised our systems. We appear to be sitting ducks." Alara's mind raced. Humanity's position in the galactic hierarchy was tenuous at best. Their biological technology, although promising, was still in its infancy compared to the advanced organic constructs of the Xyrex or the neural symbiosis of the Throlner. This assassination would be seen as a weakness, an invitation for the vultures of the galaxy to descend. Her eyes flickered to the Throlner envoy, Ambassador Shaurin, whose gelatinous form seemed to quiver in distress. A transparent membrane shifted over what could be eyes, and Alara met their gaze, a silent understanding passing between them. The Throlner had been the most vocal supporters of humanity's inclusion, seeing potential where others saw primitiveness. Ambassador Shaurin, Alara addressed the alien, her voice firm yet respectful. We need to secure this area and conduct an immediate investigation. We can't allow whoever did this to escape. The Throlnar's form undulated, a sign of agreement. Indeed, Colonel Voss, this act of treachery must not go unpunished. However, I fear we are not dealing with a simple plot. The sophistication of this attack suggests a level of coordination, an inside hand. Alara's insides turned cold. An inside job meant betrayal on a scale that could unravel not just the talks, but the fragile alliances humanity had painstakingly built. Her mind flashed to the briefings she'd attended, the constant warnings of espionage and infiltration. The ship's emergency klaxons blared, a discordant symphony to the chaos. Colonel, we have multiple breaches across the ship. Kerr's voice crackled through the comm, laced with urgency. Unknown bioforms are boarding. Alara swore under her breath, the reality of their situation becoming starkly clear. Kerr, I need a perimeter set around the delegation. Prioritize the safety of our allies. We cannot afford another incident. Understood? Understood, ma'am, came the reply, the static failing to mask the tension. Alara turned back to Shaurin. We've been outmaneuvered, Ambassador. I need to know if the Throlner can assist in identifying these bioforms. Your species' ability to interface with neural networks is unparalleled. Shaurin's form shifted, the edges rippling with what Alara interpreted as resolve. We will do what we can, Colonel, but I must warn you, these assailants are likely not acting alone. Their technology, it resonates with an unnerving familiarity. Alara nodded, masking her unease. Then let's find out who they are and why they want this alliance to fail. As they set to work, Alara's thoughts drifted to her own past. She remembered the stories of human tenacity, tales of underdogs defying odds, whispered in hushed tones by her grandfather. Yet standing here, in the epicenter of betrayal, those stories felt like distant echoes in the face of insurmountable odds. The corridors of the ship were a labyrinth of chaos, filled with smoke and the sounds of combat. Alara and her team moved with precision, their biotechnological implants, a testament to humanity's fledgling advancements, allowing them to interface with the ship's systems as they desperately tried to regain control. Lieutenant Kerr, report, Alara commanded as they reached a security terminal, her fingers dancing over the controls. We've identified the bioforms, Colonel. Kerr's voice came through, strained. They're a hybrid species, part biological, part synthetic. No known records in the galactic database. They're adapting to our defenses faster than we can counter. Alara felt a chill creep down her spine. A hybrid species, unrecognized by any records, suggested a threat that had been lurking beneath the radar, a predator in the shadows. Her chest tightened with the weight of realization. Humanity was facing a foe that was not just technologically superior, but also strategically ambiguous. Keep holding the line, Lieutenant. We can't hold them off forever, but we can buy time, she ordered, her voice firm despite the tempest of uncertainty within. As the minutes bled into what felt like an eternity, Alara found herself at a junction. The delegation needed to be evacuated, but the path was littered with unknown threats. She was painfully aware of the eyes of her team on her, waiting for decisions that could mean life or death. We need to take control of the situation, turn their own strategy against them, she said, addressing the assembled security team. If these hybrids are adapting to our defenses, we need to be unpredictable. Use every bit of tech we've developed, even if it's still experimental. Her gaze settled on Dr. Lena Cade, the chief biotechnologist of their crew, who had been silently absorbing the unfolding events. Lena's eyes, usually bright with curiosity, were now shadowed with concern. Dr. Cade, how feasible is it to weaponize our experimental bio-interfaces? We need an edge, something they're not expecting. Lena hesitated, the moral weight of the request clear on her face. The interfaces are still unstable, Colonel. They were never meant for aggressive applications. There's a high risk of feedback, mental and physical. Alara's expression softened, understanding the gravity of what she was asking. Lena, I know this goes against everything we stand for, but if we don't act, we may not live to debate the ethics. The scientist nodded, steeling herself. I'll see what I can do, but it won't be pretty. As Lena set to work, Alara found herself face to face with Kerr, whose stoic demeanor belied the storm within. Colonel, what if we can't hold them off? What if we're not enough? The question hung in the air, a specter of doubt that threatened to unravel their resolve. We have to be, Lieutenant, Alara replied, her voice quieter now, meant only for him. We've been underestimated before. Desperation has a way of revealing strengths we never knew we had. Yet inwardly, Alara wondered if those words were enough, if they could anchor them in the torrent of the unknown. As she turned back to the task at hand, a new urgency propelled her forward. The odds were stacked against them, but humanity had always thrived on adversity, and it was time to prove they were not just survivors but a force to be reckoned with. The ship shuddered under another impact, a grim reminder of the battle raging on. The air was charged with tension, each breath a fleeting moment borrowed against an uncertain future. As Alara and her team forged ahead, a whisper of a plan forming in the back of her mind, she knew they were walking the razor's edge. But in the depths of her soul, she clung to the stories of old, a belief in the indomitable spirit of humanity, a flicker of hope in the gathering darkness. Yet hope alone would not see them through this. It was action, and the courage to stand against the tide, that would determine their fate. They had to act, and act swiftly, embracing the chaos, for in the heart of chaos lay the seeds of opportunity, and perhaps, just perhaps, a chance for redemption. The subterranean laboratory pulsed with an unsettling hum, the kind that seemed to vibrate through bone and marrow. Flickering fluorescence cast a sickly pallor over the scene as the group of humans huddled in the darkened corner, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. Outside, the constant thrum of machinery and distant echoes of footsteps reminded them of the enemy's relentless presence. The leader, a woman named Lena, scanned the group, counting heads and assessing injuries. She ran a hand through her tangled hair, feeling the grime and sweat that had accumulated over days of evasive maneuvers. Her gaze settled on the youngest member, a boy barely old enough to remember life before the occupation. He clutched the tattered remains of a teddy bear, its seams gaping like fresh wounds. We need to move, Lena whispered, her voice barely audible over the background noise. They're closing in. Jonas, a burly man with a perpetual scowl etched into his features, grunted in agreement. We can't keep running forever. We need a plan. Plans don't always work, Jonas. Lena shot back, a hint of desperation creeping into her voice. Our only chance is to adapt. That's what humans do best. Unbeknownst to them, a surveillance drone hovered silently in the shadows, its lenses capturing every flicker of movement, every whispered word. Miles away, in a control room bathed in an eerie blue light, the alien overseers watched with detached interest. These humans are resilient, one of them remarked, its voice a metallic rasp. But they are outmatched. The leader of the alien contingent leaned forward, its luminous eyes narrowing. Resilience is but a delaying tactic. Press the advantage. Let them feel the weight of their insignificance. Back in the lab, Lena's group moved with cautious precision, navigating the labyrinthine corridors that led deeper into the earth. Each passageway seemed designed to disorient, twisting and turning back on itself like some malevolent beast. The air was thick with the scent of metal and decay. The group halted abruptly as a low rumble shook the ground, followed by a cascade of dust and debris. Lena's heart skipped a beat. She glanced at Jonas. "They're collapsing sections to funnel us," he said, his face set in grim resolve. "We have to find another way," Lena replied, her mind racing. "Does anyone know this place better?" A thin woman with sharp eyes and quick hands, Marla, stepped forward. "I used to work maintenance here, before everything." She hesitated, memories of a simpler time flashing briefly in her eyes. "There are old service tunnels. They might not know about them." "Lead the way," Lena urged, feeling a flicker of hope. They moved swiftly, following Marla's lead as she guided them through a narrow side passage. The walls pressed in on them, damp and crumbling. It was as if the earth itself sought to swallow them whole. Every step was a gamble, every corner a potential ambush. The aliens were nothing if not thorough, their technology capable of detecting the faintest heartbeat. The group sped up, driven by the knowledge that every second counted. But as they turned yet another corner, they were met with a sight that stopped them cold. A massive, pulsating barrier blocked the tunnel, its surface a swirling mass of energy. It crackled with malevolence, an impassable wall of alien design. Lena's heart sank. "A trap," she breathed. Jonas cursed under his breath. "We can't go back. They'll be on us in minutes." Marla, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up. "The energy source. If we can disrupt it, even for a moment." Lena's eyes lit up with understanding. "We might be able to slip through." "But how?" Jonas demanded. "We don't have the tools." "We have us," Lena replied, her voice gaining strength. "We'll find a way." The group set to work, minds racing to deconstruct the alien technology with nothing but their wits and what little they carried. Lena and Jonas examined the barrier's edge, probing for weaknesses, while Marla and the others scoured their surroundings for anything that might serve as a tool. Minutes ticked by, each one laden with the weight of impending doom. The boy, sensing the urgency, abandoned his teddy bear to join the search, his small hands surprisingly adept at finding hidden scenes and loose connections. It was Marla who found the access panel, cleverly concealed beneath a layer of grime. "Here," she called out, prying it open with a piece of scrap metal. Inside, a tangled mess of wires and conduits lay exposed. "We need to short it," Lena decided, her eyes scanning the array with newfound determination. They worked together in silence, fingers dancing over the connections with a mix of caution and desperation. It was a task made all the more daunting by the knowledge that failure meant more than just death. It meant the end of hope. Finally, with a silent prayer to whatever fates might be listening, Lena twisted two wires together. A shower of sparks erupted, and the barrier flickered, its energy surging and waning. "Now," Lena shouted, urging her group forward. They dashed through the gap, hearts pounding as the barrier sputtered and reformed behind them. The tunnel stretched out before them, and for a brief, shining moment, victory seemed within reach. But the aliens, ever watchful, were not so easily foiled. As the group emerged into a cavernous chamber, they were met with a squadron of enforcers, their armor glinting in the dim light. Lena's stomach twisted with fear. They had walked straight into the enemy's grasp. The leader of the alien squad stepped forward, its posture exuding a confidence born of superiority. "Human ingenuity," it commented, its voice dripping with disdain. "Admirable, but futile." Jonas stepped protectively in front of the others, his fists clenched. "We'll never stop fighting. You won't have the chance," the alien replied, raising a hand as if to signal the end. In that moment, Lena's mind raced, her thoughts a whirlwind of possibilities. There had to be something, some way to turn the tide. She glanced around, searching for inspiration. Her eyes fell on the chamber's ceiling, a web of pipes and cables crisscrossing overhead. An idea, reckless and desperate, took root. It was a long shot, but it was all they had. "Jonas," she whispered, "the pipes." Understanding flashed in his eyes. Without hesitation, he lunged forward, grabbing a length of fallen conduit. With a mighty swing, he struck the nearest support beam, sending a tremor through the chamber. The aliens hesitated, Caught off guard by the unexpected attack, Lena seized the moment, rallying her group. Now, while they're distracted, the humans scattered, their movements unpredictable and chaotic. The aliens struggled to regroup, their calculated strategies unraveling in the face of human tenacity. Lena and Jonas worked in tandem, using the environment to their advantage. They ducked and weaved, striking from unexpected angles, their adaptability rendering them elusive targets. But the aliens were not without their own prowess. They regrouped quickly, their advanced weaponry cutting through the chaos with deadly precision. Lena's group was pushed to the brink, their numbers dwindling as one by one, they fell to the alien assault. Amidst the chaos, the boy knelt beside his fallen teddy bear, his small frame shaking with silent sobs. Lena's heart ached at the sight, a reminder of all they stood to lose. Driven by a surge of defiance, she fought with renewed vigor, refusing to yield. But even as they battled on, the inevitability of defeat loomed large, a shadow that threatened to swallow them whole. The humans' darkest moment had arrived, their future hanging by a thread. In the heart of the alien stronghold, they stood as a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, a flicker of light against the encroaching darkness. But as the chamber echoed with the sounds of conflict, one thing became clear: the fight was not over. Not yet, for in the depths of despair, humans had always found a way to endure, to adapt, to survive. And perhaps, just perhaps, they would find it again. The city of New Bastion was a smoldering ruin, a testament to the ruthless efficiency of the Echelon Collective. Once a thriving hub of human innovation, its streets now choked on the ash of dreams burned to cinders. The Collective's biotechnological prowess had proven insurmountable. Their armies of gene-modded enforcers patrolled the ruins, their senses honed to detect the slightest resistance. Yet, in the heart of this devastation, human defiance flickered, a stubborn ember refusing to die. Beneath the shattered infrastructure, in the forgotten tunnels of the old metro, a ragged assembly of survivors gathered. They were remnants of the human resistance, led by a woman whose name had become legend, Eliana Cortez. Her once vibrant eyes were now shadowed with exhaustion, yet they gleamed with a fierce determination that refused to be extinguished. "We're outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time," Eliana admitted, her voice steady despite the grim acknowledgement. Around her, faces marked by loss and sacrifice looked back, some hardened, others haunted, but all resolute. "What do we have left?" asked Jiro, a former engineer whose quick mind was now their greatest asset. His hands trembled slightly, a consequence of the nerve toxin the Collective had introduced into the city's water supply, one of many brutal strategies employed to break their spirit. Eliana unfolded a crumpled piece of paper, its edges frayed from too many hands. A schematic, salvaged from the ruins of a laboratory. "We have this," she said, pointing to the detailed drawings of a device that had the potential to disrupt the bioenhancements of the Collective's enforcers. The room buzzed with a mixture of hope and skepticism. "It's incomplete," Jiro noted, examining the schematic closely. "And we don't have the materials. Not to mention, the Collective's countermeasures." "They think they've already won," Eliana interrupted, her voice cutting through the doubt. "Their arrogance is our opportunity. We have one chance to strike before they tighten the noose." Silence fell as they absorbed her words. The enormity of the task was daunting, but surrender was not an option. "We can scavenge what's left," suggested Mara, their resident scavenger, her face streaked with grime and determination. "I know where to find some of these components, but we'll need a distraction." Eliana nodded. "I'll lead a team topside. We'll draw their attention, give you time to get what we need." Jiro frowned. "You're the leader. You shouldn't be risking yourself." "Exactly why I must. The people need to see me fighting alongside them, not hiding underground." She squared her shoulders, her resolve unyielding. "We all have a role to play. We must believe that together, we can ignite that spark of humanity that refuses to die." The plan was hastily cobbled together, born of desperation and necessity. As the survivors dispersed to their tasks, Aliena lingered, her gaze drifting to the cracked ceiling. Somewhere above, the collective's enforcers prowled, their bioluminescent eyes cutting through the shadows, searching for any sign of rebellion. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the battle ahead. ******. The surface was a landscape of desolation. Buildings stood as skeletal remnants against the horizon, their concrete bones bleached in the harsh light. Aliena and her team moved like shadows, slipping through the ruins with practiced ease. Every step was a calculated risk, every sound a potential betrayal. The sky overhead was a sickly green, a byproduct of the collective's terraforming experiments. It cast an eerie pallor over everything, a reminder of the world they had lost. Yet, despite the oppressive atmosphere, Aliena felt a stirring of hope. They were still here, still fighting. A sudden movement caught her eye, a patrol, their bio-enhanced figures moving with a predatory grace. Aliena signaled to her team, urging them to melt into the shadows. They crouched low, hearts pounding as the enforcers passed mere meters away, their footsteps echoing with mechanical precision. Once the patrol was out of sight, Aliena led her team to the remains of a nearby factory. It was to be their staging ground, a place to draw the collective's attention while Mara and her scavengers hunted for the components. She signaled to Jiro, who began setting up the crude explosive devices they had managed to cobble together. "Ready?" she asked, her voice a quiet thread in the tense silence. Jiro nodded, sweat beading his brow. "As ready as we'll ever be." They took their positions, weapons at the ready. The air was charged with anticipation, a powder keg waiting to ignite. Aliena closed her eyes for a brief moment, summoning every ounce of courage she possessed. "For New Bastion," she whispered, the words a vow and a battle cry. With a sharp nod, she signaled to Jiro. The first explosion ripped through the air, a brilliant flash that shattered the oppressive silence. The factory became a furnace, flames licking hungrily at the sky. It was a sight both terrible and beautiful, a symbol of defiance in the face of certain doom. The enforcers reacted swiftly, converging on the source of the disturbance with lethal intent. Aliena's team engaged them with a ferocity born of desperation, their weapons barking defiantly against the odds. The collective's forces were formidable, their reflexes honed to inhuman precision, but the humans fought with the tenacity of cornered animals. The battle was brutal and chaotic, a symphony of violence and determination. Aliena moved through the fray like a whirlwind, her every action a testament to her indomitable will. She fought not just for survival, but for humanity's right to exist, to thrive beyond the shadow of the collective. As the fight raged, Jiro monitored their makeshift communication system, listening for any sign from Mara. The minutes stretched into eternity, each second a lifetime as they held their ground against the relentless onslaught. Finally, a crackling voice broke through the static. "We got it," Mara reported breathlessly. "Heading back now." Relief surged through Aliena, a balm to her weary spirit. They had done it. Against all odds, they had snatched a fragment of hope from the jaws of despair. But the cost was steep. The collective's enforcers pressed harder, their numbers seemingly endless. One by one, Aliena's comrades fell, their sacrifices seared into her memory. There was no time to mourn, only to fight, to endure. As the last of her team was cut down, Aliena found herself alone, surrounded by the bodies of friend and foe alike. Her strength waned, yet she refused to yield. With a primal scream, she charged the nearest enforcer, determination burning brighter than her fatigue. The enforcer was quicker, its augmented muscles propelling it with terrifying speed. It caught her mid-stride, its grip crushing, and slammed her to the ground. Pain flared through her body, but Aliena clung to consciousness, her vision narrowing to a tunnel of light and shadow. The enforcer loomed over her, its eyes a cold, unfeeling blue. Victory was within its grasp, but Aliena's spirit was not so easily broken. With a final, desperate effort, she lashed out, her fingers finding the activation switch on the last remaining explosive device. The detonation was blinding, a supernova of light and heat that consumed everything in its path. The Enforcer was torn asunder, its bio-enhancements rendered useless against the raw fury of the explosion. When the dust settled, silence reclaimed the ruins of New Bastion. Aliena lay amidst the wreckage, her body battered but her spirit unbroken. She had bought them time, and with it, the hope of a future yet unwritten. Beneath the city, the survivors gathered once more, their numbers diminished but their resolve unwavering. Jiro worked tirelessly, assembling the device with the components Mara had recovered. The schematic was complex, a puzzle of wires and circuits that required precision and ingenuity to complete. As he labored, the others watched with bated breath, their hopes pinned on this fragile creation. It was a relic of a bygone era, a testament to human ingenuity that had once defied the odds and could do so again. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Jiro sat back, his hands trembling with fatigue. "It's done," he announced, his voice a mixture of triumph and exhaustion. Aliena, her injuries hastily bandaged, limped forward. Her face was a mask of determination, her eyes shining with a fire that refused to be extinguished. "Then we fight," she declared, her voice rising above the uncertainty. "For those we've lost, for those yet to come, we take back what is ours." The survivors erupted in a cheer, a defiant roar that echoed through the tunnels. It was the sound of human spirit, unyielding and unconquered, a declaration that their fight was far from over. And so, as the shadows of despair threatened to swallow them whole, a single spark ignited a flame of resistance, a beacon of hope in humanity's darkest hour. The seeds of resurgence were sown, and the tide began to turn. In the heart of the collective's stronghold, the Enforcers moved with an air of overconfidence, their victory seemingly assured. They were blind to the growing storm, the whispers of rebellion that gathered strength beneath their very feet. Yet, as the first tremors of change began to ripple through the city, the collective would soon learn that humanity's spirit was not so easily extinguished. As the survivors prepared to strike back, the balance of power teetered on the edge of a knife, poised to shift in an instant. The breaking point was near, and with it, the dawn of a new era, a resurgence that would redefine the future and reclaim the world from the clutches of tyranny. The fight was far from over, but the tide had turned, and humanity's indomitable spirit shone brighter than ever before. The city of Athanasia lay under a veil of oppressive tranquility, its bioluminescent structures casting a ghostly glow across the night. The air was thick with the scent of decay and renewal, a symbiotic dance of life and death entwined in the very essence of the planet. In the heart of this sprawling metropolis, a hidden rebellion festered, nurtured by whispers of resistance and the audacity of hope. For years, the Athanasians had exploited the biorhythm of their world, harnessing its genetic tapestry to fashion their utopia. The human enclave, a remnant of an exploratory mission gone awry, was tolerated only as a curiosity, a genetic anomaly to be studied and occasionally paraded as proof of Athanasian superiority. Yet within the shadows, humanity plotted its ascent. In an unassuming laboratory tucked beneath layers of organic architecture, Dr. Alara Jensen stood poised before a tangled array of bioluminescent strands. These strands, shimmering with a life of their own, were the culmination of years of clandestine research and experimentation. The Athanasians had underestimated humans, viewing them as primitive and static. They had never considered the stubborn resilience encoded within human DNA, nor the ingenuity it spawned. Alara's fingers danced across the console, initiating a sequence that set the strands pulsing with frenetic energy. She could feel the change in the air. It was electric, a tangible shift that heralded the beginning of something monumental. "Are you sure this will work?" whispered a voice laden with doubt and anticipation. It was Marcus, a stalwart figure who had become her confidant and protector in this alien world. Alara nodded, her eyes glinting with fierce determination. "It has to, Marcus. We've run out of time." Above them, the city hummed with the soft susurrus of Athanasian life, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath its surface. The rebellion had managed to keep its machinations hidden, their movements cloaked by the very biotechnological marvels the Athanasians had gifted them. But now, the final piece was in place, a genetic key that would unlock the latent potential of their species. The Athanasians had always prided themselves on their mastery of genetic manipulation, their ability to mold life as clay in their hands. Yet they failed to grasp the implications of their own arrogance. In their zeal to catalog and classify, they had become blind to the evolutionary leaps humanity was capable of making under duress. Marcus glanced at the cityscape visible through the organic apertures of the lab. "They'll come for us the moment they realize. Then we must act quickly," Alara interrupted, her voice a razor's edge. "Once the signal is sent, there's no turning back." With a final breath of resolve, she pressed the activation sequence. The strands flared with an intensity that outshone the Athanasian skyline, a beacon of human defiance reaching out across the planet. This was the moment, the turning point when humanity would begin to show its true strength. As the energy wave radiated outward, a silent transformation rippled through the human enclave. Unseen by Athanasian eyes, cells began to shimmer with newfound vigor, mitochondria thrumming with an energy that bordered on the miraculous. Old wounds healed, senses sharpened, and dormant capabilities awoke with a vengeance. The Athanasians, ensconced in their citadels of organic splendor, sensed the shift almost immediately. Across the city, their bioengineered sensors flared with alarm, registering the spike in human bioactivity as an anomaly. They had anticipated rebellion, but not this, a fundamental alteration of the very fabric of human biology. In the grand chamber of the Athanasian High Council, panic simmered beneath the surface of serene masks. Councillor Xylar, a being of sun-dappled translucence, leaned forward, his voice a measured blend of authority and unease. "Our readings indicate a substantial augmentation of human genetic material. This development was unforeseen." The council buzzed with a chorus of disbelief and skepticism. Their understanding of genetics was unparalleled, yet this defied their predictions. How had the humans, with their rudimentary grasp of biotechnological principles, accomplished such a feat? "Our models must have underestimated their adaptive capabilities," Xylar admitted reluctantly. "This could upset the balance of our coexistence." As the council deliberated, the Athanasian enforcers deployed, a force of bioengineered sentinels designed to quell any disturbance to their carefully cultivated order. These sentinels, sleek and deadly, moved with precision through the organic avenues, their presence a reminder of Athanasian dominance. But the humans were ready. In the subterranean corridors and hidden alcoves, they marshaled their forces, emboldened by the surge of power coursing through their veins. The time for passive resistance had passed. Now, they would rise. Marcus, invigorated by the transformation, moved with a swiftness that defied his previous physical constraints. He relayed orders with a clarity that cut through the confusion, coordinating the disparate factions of the rebellion into a cohesive force. "They'll hit us hard and fast," he announced, gathering the resistance leaders in a makeshift war room. "But we've got something they don't: adaptability." The room was a cacophony of voices, each member keenly aware of the stakes. Failure would mean annihilation, but success promised a future unfettered by Athanasian oversight. "We strike at their heart," Alara proposed, her voice carrying the weight of conviction. "Their greatest strength is also their blind spot. They've grown complacent, believing themselves untouchable." Her words ignited a spark, fanning the embers of courage into a roaring flame. The plan was audacious, a direct assault on the Athanasian command structure. But with their newfound abilities, it was within reach. As the rebellion mobilized, the city of Athanasia was plunged into chaos. The Athanasian enforcers, accustomed to quelling minor uprisings, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Humans, once perceived as sluggish and predictable, now moved with a speed and cunning that defied their expectations. In the skies above, Athanasian biodrones swooped and dived, attempting to maintain control. But the humans had anticipated this too. Alara's innovations extended to their technology, and with a whispered command, their own drones took flight, clashing in a breathtaking aerial ballet. The Athanasians, for the first time in memory, experienced the sting of uncertainty. Their calculations had misjudged the human spirit, the relentless drive that spurred them to overcome insurmountable odds. In the heart of their citadel, Counselor Xylar watched as reports flooded in, each more dire than the last. The humans were advancing, moving with a purpose and unity that belied their fractured beginnings. This was not predicted, Xylar murmured, a trace of awe threading through his voice. For the Athanasians, who prided themselves on their foresight, the admission was tantamount to heresy. And then, a breakthrough. A contingent of human forces breached the outer defenses of the Council's sanctum, their approach marked by a cascade of organic debris and the scent of ozone. Alara and Marcus led the charge, their presence a beacon of defiance against the Athanasian oppressors. They moved with the assurance of those who had glimpsed the future and found it wanting, determined to forge their own path. The council chamber echoed with the clamorous symphony of battle, Athanasian enforcers clashing with human insurgents in a desperate bid to maintain control. But the tide had shifted irrevocably, the momentum now firmly in humanity's grasp. As Alara advanced, her eyes locked onto Xylar's, a silent exchange passing between them. There was no malice, only the recognition of kindred spirits on opposite sides of a widening chasm. "You've underestimated us," Alara said, her voice carrying above the din. "But it's not too late to change." Xylar hesitated, the weight of ages pressing down upon him. In that moment, he glimpsed the possibility of a new alliance, a future where Athanasians and humans could coexist as equals rather than adversaries. But the decision was not his alone to make. The council, steeped in tradition and hierarchy, was not yet ready to relinquish their hold. And so, the conflict raged on, each side vying for supremacy in a world teetering on the brink of transformation. As the battle unfolded, it became clear that the humans were not to be underestimated. Their ingenuity, courage, and unexpected strength were a force to be reckoned with, a testament to the resilience of their species. And in the heart of Athanasia, beneath the bioluminescent canopy, the seeds of a new beginning took root. Humanity had revealed its true capabilities, and the Athanasians, for all their wisdom, were left to ponder the implications of a future they had never foreseen. The city trembled with the echoes of conflict, the air charged with the promise of what was yet to come. The turning point had arrived, and the world watched with bated breath as humanity rose, unyielding and indomitable, to claim its place in the cosmos. Dr. Evelyn Oster stood on the observation deck, her breath a shallow whisper against the reinforced glass as she watched the frenetic activity below. The laboratory thrummed with an electric tension, every scientist and technician moving with a purpose that bordered on frenzy. It was as if the air itself was charged with the weight of their endeavor, a final, desperate push against a universe that had deemed humanity inferior. Outside, the sprawling cityscape of New Kyoto lay shrouded in the thick haze of neon and rain, a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of human design. But it was here, in the heart of the Bioforge Institute, that humanity's true potential was being forged, one gene splice at a time. "Dr. Oster," a voice crackled over the intercom, snapping her from her reverie. "We're ready for Phase 3. She nodded, though no one could see her. "Initiate," she replied, her voice carrying the weight of command. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat a reminder of what was at stake. Out there, the coalition of ascended species had already begun their final assault, convinced of their supremacy, assured of their victory. They had underestimated humanity. The room below came alive with a cascade of lights as the genetic sequencers whirred to life, their intricately programmed systems unraveling the mysteries of the human genome. Evelyn watched as the data streamed across the monitors, a symphony of code that spoke of untapped potential, of evolution accelerated by necessity. In the corner of the lab, tanks filled with a viscous, bioluminescent fluid housed the key to their survival. Suspended within, The first generation of bio-enhanced humans floated in serene repose, their bodies a testament to the union of biology and technology. Each one was a masterpiece, a culmination of years of research, sacrifice, and hope. As the sequencers reached their crescendo, Evelyn felt the shift in the air, a palpable change that signaled the beginning of the end. She turned her gaze to the main screen, where a live feed from the front lines displayed the unfolding chaos. The Coalition's forces, a menagerie of species that had long since abandoned their biological roots, were advancing with mechanical precision, intent on eradicating the last vestiges of human resistance. "Status report," Evelyn demanded, her voice cutting through the din. "We're at 98% synchronization," a technician called out, his eyes glued to his monitor. "Neural interface protocols are stable. We're ready for activation." "Do it," Evelyn ordered, her voice steady despite the storm raging in her chest. The room fell silent as the command was executed, a collective breath held in anticipation. Then, with a surge of energy that made the air hum, the tanks began to drain, and the figures within stirred to life. Eyes snapped open, glowing with an ethereal light that spoke of the changes within. One by one, they emerged, shedding the confines of their artificial wombs to stand before their creators. They were humanity reborn, faster, stronger, and more capable than any had dared to dream. Each movement was fluid, purposeful, a testament to their superiority over the Coalition's clumsy amalgamation of metal and circuitry. Evelyn's heart soared as she watched them move, a silent prayer of thanks whispered to the universe. This was humanity's answer to the Coalition's arrogance, a declaration of defiance etched into flesh and bone. "Deploy the Vanguard," she commanded, her voice underscored by a fierce determination. "It's time we show them what it means to be human." The bio-enhanced warriors moved with a grace that belied their power, each step a promise of retribution. They were the pinnacle of human achievement, a living testament to the resilience and adaptability of their species. As they surged forward, Evelyn turned her attention back to the screen, where the tide of battle was shifting. The Coalition's forces, once a seemingly unstoppable juggernaut, reeled under the assault of the Vanguard, their ranks thrown into disarray by the sudden ferocity of the counterattack. On the battlefield, the Vanguard moved like a force of nature, each strike precise, each motion calculated to maximize devastation. They were a storm unleashed, a whirlwind of flesh and fury that tore through the Coalition's ranks with a speed that left the enemy reeling. Evelyn watched as the Coalition's commanders scrambled to respond, their arrogance melting into panic as the true nature of humanity's capabilities became apparent. The Coalition had always believed themselves beyond the reach of such primitive creatures, secure in their technological superiority. But they had forgotten one essential truth: humans were survivors. The realization struck the Coalition like a physical blow, their forces faltering as understanding dawned. They had underestimated humanity's drive, their capacity for innovation, their willingness to fight with everything they had. The battlefield, once a tableau of despair, was transformed into a stage for human excellence. The Vanguard moved with an elegance that belied their destructive power, their bodies a perfect harmony of human ingenuity and evolutionary prowess. In the command center, the Coalition's leaders watched in disbelief as their carefully laid plans unraveled. The humans, those fragile, chaotic beings they had dismissed as inconsequential, were proving to be their undoing. Evelyn felt a fierce pride swell within her as she watched the tide turn, the Coalition's forces retreating in disarray. This was the moment they had fought for, the culmination of all their efforts. Humanity, in all its flawed glory, was rising to claim its place among the stars. The Coalition's flagship, a behemoth of metal and malice, loomed on the horizon, a final bastion of resistance. But even it could not withstand the onslaught of the Vanguard, their bio-engineered bodies moving with a speed and precision that defied comprehension. As they breached the ship's defenses, Evelyn knew that victory was within their grasp. The Coalition's leaders, once so confident in their supremacy, now found themselves at the mercy of those they had sought to annihilate. In the heart of the flagship, the Vanguard confronted the Coalition's council, their presence a silent testament to humanity's triumph. The Coalition, for all their advancements, had forgotten the power of the human spirit, the indomitable will that refused to bow to the inevitability of extinction. Evelyn watched as the Vanguard delivered the final blow, a strike that shattered the Coalition's hold on their world. The flagship trembled, its systems failing as the humans seized control, their victory a resounding testament to their resilience and ingenuity. The room erupted in cheers, the sound a cathartic release of tension and fear. Evelyn allowed herself a moment of triumph, a rare smile breaking the somber lines of her face. They had done it. Against all odds, against the weight of the universe itself, humanity had prevailed. As the Coalition's fleet withdrew, tails tucked, humanity stood defiant, a beacon of hope in a cosmos that had sought to snuff them out. The Vanguard, their bodies marked by the trials of battle, stood as living proof of human excellence, a promise of what was to come. Evelyn looked out over the city, the rain washing away the remnants of conflict, leaving only the promise of renewal. Humanity had faced the abyss and emerged stronger, more united, ready to forge a new path among the stars. In that moment, as the dawn broke over New Kyoto, Evelyn knew that they had not only survived, they had thrived. The future, once so uncertain, now stretched before them, a canvas upon which they would paint the story of their newfound freedom and strength. The Coalition would not forget this day, the day they had underestimated the indomitable spirit of humanity. And Evelyn, along with every soul who had fought and bled for this victory, would ensure that their legacy endured, a testament to the power of human determination and ingenuity. Here, at the nexus of triumph and renewal, humanity had claimed its place among the stars, a force to be reckoned with, a species reborn in the crucible of conflict. And as they stood poised on the brink of a new era, one truth echoed through the hearts and minds of all who had witnessed their ascent. Humans were here to stay. As the dust settled over the battered landscape, the remnants of the alien bioforms lay strewn across the field, their once intimidating presence now reduced to inert heaps of chitin and sinew. The air was thick with the acrid scent of burned organic matter and the sterile tang of the nanite fog that had played its part in humanity's desperate gambit. The mix of biopunk and raw human ingenuity had turned the tide, and the world was forever altered by what had transpired. Commander Elena Vasquez stood amidst the ruins, her exosuit battered, its organic components humming softly as they regenerated the damage. Her visor, cracked but functional, displayed the tactical map showing the extent of their victory. It was a mosaic of green and red, but the red was finally receding. She exhaled, a slow, deliberate release of tension held for years. The war was over, and humanity had won. Nearby, Dr. Mason Thorne worked alongside a team of bioengineers, his hands moving deftly over the control panel of a portable gene sequencer. The devices, cobbled together from the remains of the alien technology and human innovation, were instrumental in the battle, repurposing the enemy's own biology against them. Thorne's face was a mask of exhaustion, but his eyes were alight with a fierce, triumphant determination. They had not only survived, they had thrived against impossible odds. The victory had not come without cost. Sarah Kim, the youngest and most promising biocoder of the Resistance, limped over to where Elena stood, her legs supported by a makeshift brace. Her once vibrant eyes were shadowed by the memories of comrades lost, but they shone with a resilient hope. "We did it, Elena," she said, her voice a mixture of disbelief and pride. "We really did it," Elena nodded, placing a reassuring hand on Sarah's shoulder. "We did, and now we rebuild, not just our cities, but our lives, our future." In the skies above, the last of the alien bioships listed in a slow, fiery descent, their organic hulls streaking the horizon like falling stars. The sight was both beautiful and terrible, a testament to the cost of freedom and the price of survival. The world had been scarred, but it was theirs to heal. As the humans gathered in the aftermath, the scale of their victory began to sink in. The alien threat, once insurmountable, had been vanquished through a combination of human adaptability and the bold use of biopunk technology. The resistance had leveraged the very biology of their enemies, turning the tide with a daring strategy to rewrite the genetic code of the invading forces. The realization that they had not only defended their home but had emerged stronger for it, rippled through the survivors like wildfire. The representatives of the scattered human settlements began to converge, drawn by the beacon of victory. They came bearing the scars of battle but also stories of valor and resilience. From the far reaches of the tundra to the dense jungles, humanity was uniting in a way it had not done in centuries. The shared struggle against a common foe had forged new alliances, solidified old ones, and dissolved the petty divisions that had once threatened to fracture their world. In the heart of the command center, the council convened, a mix of military leaders, scientists, and ordinary citizens who had risen to extraordinary challenges. The discussions were intense, filled with debates on how to harness the alien technology, how to ensure the safety of their world without repeating the mistakes of the past. Each voice carried weight, each decision a step toward shaping a new era. Dr. Thorne took the floor, his voice echoing through the chamber. We stand on the precipice of a new age. The knowledge we've gained from this conflict can propel us into a future where disease and hunger are relics of the past. But we must tread carefully. The power to alter life can uplift or it can destroy. We must choose wisely. His words resonated deeply with the assembly. The room fell silent as each person weighed the enormity of the choices before them. It was a moment of profound introspection, a collective breath held as the future balanced on a knife's edge. Elena watched the faces around her, seeing the familiar mix of fear and hope, determination and doubt. She rose, her voice carrying the authority born of battle-hardened experience. We have faced the darkness and emerged into the light. This victory is not just ours. It belongs to every human who dreamed of a better tomorrow. We owe it to them to build a world worthy of their sacrifice. Her words sparked a ripple of agreement, a reaffirmation of their shared purpose. The council set to work, drafting plans for reconstruction, for integrating the new technologies into their societies, and for safeguarding their planet from future threats. The task was daunting, but so too had been the war, and they had emerged victorious. In the weeks that followed, the remnants of the alien invasion were dissected, understood, and repurposed. The bioengineers developed new ways to harness the alien biology, creating sustainable food sources and medical advancements that seemed like miracles. The world began to heal, its scars a reminder of what had been lost and what had been gained. Sarah Kim, her leg healed thanks to the very technology they had fought against, took on a new role as a bridge between the scientists and the people on the ground. She traveled from settlement to settlement, teaching communities how to utilize the new resources, igniting a spark of innovation and hope wherever she went. Her journey was a testament to the indomitable human spirit, a living embodiment of the change they had fought so hard to achieve. In the rebuilt cities, life resumed, but it was a life transformed. The air was filled with the hum of new bio-machines, the laughter of children playing in the streets, and the quiet determination of those who had survived. Humanity had not only endured, it had flourished, carving out a future from the ashes of the past. Elena continued to lead, her presence a steadying force as the world adjusted to its new reality. She worked tirelessly to ensure that the lessons of the war were not forgotten, that the unity forged in the crucible of conflict endured. Her leadership inspired a new generation, one that looked to the stars not with fear, but with a sense of wonder and possibility. As the years passed, the world changed in ways that were both profound and subtle. Cities of bioluminescent towers sprang up, their structures a seamless blend of nature and technology. The skies were filled with the hum of newly developed bioships, exploring the solar system with the curiosity and tenacity that defined humanity. The alien threat had been vanquished, but the legacy of their invasion had transformed the human race. They were no longer the same species that had faced extinction. They were something more, resilient, adaptable, a testament to the enduring power of hope and innovation. Dr. Thorne's vision of a world without disease and hunger began to materialize, his research paving the way for breakthroughs that reshaped human society. The boundaries of science expanded, and with them, the possibilities for what humanity could achieve. The world was filled with life, vibrant and teeming with the promise of a new dawn. And yet, amidst the triumphs and challenges, the memories of the war lingered. They were etched into the minds of those who had fought, reminders of the cost of freedom and the strength of the human spirit. It was a legacy that would not be forgotten, a story that would be told for generations to come. In the quiet moments, when the weight of leadership pressed heavy on her shoulders, Elena would gaze up at the night sky, the stars a tapestry of endless possibilities. She saw the constellations not as distant and unreachable, but as a map to the future, a future that humanity would shape with its own hands. With each passing day, the world grew stronger, a testament to the resilience of its people and the power of unity. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged victorious, a species that refused to be defined by its limitations. They had reached for the stars and found their place among them, forever changed by the struggle they had overcome. In the end, it was not just a victory over an alien threat. It was a victory of the human spirit, a triumph of hope over despair, of unity over division. It was a reminder that, no matter the odds, humanity would always find a way. Against the darkness, they had risen, and in the light of a new dawn, they would endure.